So what's next for the Ole Miss Rebels after they lost to the Miami Hurricanes in the Fiesta Bowl? We talk with legend John Fourcade all about what is coming down the pipe.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Steven Willis, the 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. We're going to go to John Fourcade, former Ole Miss legend, in just a second to talk about what he saw in the Fiesta Bowl and what's kind of coming down the pike and all of that type stuff. General reaction, autopsy type thing to a great 2025 football season. But first, remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get into all of the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com and get your college football playoff profit boost every single game day. All right, John, one thing's interesting.
Oh,
it was a game.
Steven.
Can you? Yeah,
hold up. I got you listening, but let me get it right back. Hold up.
All right.
Something's wrong on my end.
You're fine on my end.
You can see me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead then.
All right. So this game is a game that Ole Miss actually got physically dominated in. The time of possession was 40 minutes to 20 minutes. It was absolutely nuts. But Ole Miss had the lead in the game with like 25 seconds to go in the game. It was a bizarre ending to a season that was unbelievable for Ole Miss fans. And dang it, they almost pulled that game out if it wasn't for that last drive by the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, if anybody looked at the game or watched the game or read up and just saw everything, look, the Rebels were in this football game. Going into this game, all you heard about was Miami's great defense, Miami's defense this, Miami's defense that. And they were wanting to know how could Ole Miss stay on the same field with this Miami team. It didn't start out very well for the Rebels. I think the big turning point was the first half. And I believe I told you this last time we spoke. I said, if they're 10 points or under, they're still in it. If it's a 14-point game at halftime, it's going to be an uphill battle. It wasn't a 14. I just thought the first half, Ole Miss had opportunities, but it came out very flat. I think they let Miami pop them in the mouth a little bit, and it caused a lot of problems with the Rebels. But, we could just sit here and say this and say that, but I didn't think Trinidad Chambliss had his best game. I mean, let's be honest, he could have threw 4 picks in that football game, but it didn't come to that. You play 60 minutes of football. They were in it all the way to the very end, and what a great season. It just didn't go their way.
Yeah, and if you look at it, this was the one game this season where Ole Miss didn't come off and their script was dynamic. And this was also the first game where Charlie Weis was being forced to split between the transfer portal at LSU and in Oxford, Mississippi, to probably where there wasn't that much time put into the game script. How much of an issue do you look at Charlie Weis having to go back and forth in the game script and that slow start in the beginning?
Well, it worked out well in the Georgia game. It's just it probably played a little bit in the scenario of the overall play call and the overall getting with the team, having your chance to speak to everybody as an offensive coordinator and your turn to do things with the offense. But it's hard going back and forth. But, like everybody else in life, Steve, we all been dealt, bad hands. You got to deal with it. You got to make some kind of adjustments, and under the circumstances, it could have been where after the Georgia Bulldog game was over with, none of the coaches could have came back, and they could have been there with different guys calling plays. And I don't necessarily want to blame anything on the coaches because they were there for them. They hung in there. They called the plays. You got to execute the plays. I didn't think it was Pete's best defensive play calling as it was in maybe some other games. I just think it was a combination of they were in that high moment. The spotlight was really up there, knowing they're one game away from playing in the national championship game. But they still had a chance. I just thought that they got wore out a little bit, and I don't think it has anything to do with coaching from a standpoint of that back and forth stuff that was going on. And I just felt that, they just ran out of time and ran out a little bit of energy.
All right, the last play of the game, there was obviously pass interference in the end zone. Should they have thrown a flag?
Correct. People kept saying, well, it wasn't a Hail Mary pass. It wasn't, because sometimes they say, well, if it's a Hail Mary pass, there's a lot of jockeying for position, this, that, and the other. You very seldom see a Hail Mary pass where it's called a pass interference, but this wasn't. They were at 25-yard line or something of that nature, throwing a pass. It was a one-on-one, and he gave the guy a chance. And yeah, they should have thrown a flag. But my take is this, and I'm going to say this, Steven, to him, I'm blue in the face. If they're going to, and I saw this happening where they call a penalty, and then somebody upstairs changed the call on the field, and this has happened before. If they're going to start doing that, like they do, reversing a fumble, reversing his feet down, reversing did he fumble, inbounds, out of bounds, was his knee, all that stuff, okay? They're going to do that. They need to start having where a head coach gets 2 calls per half to challenge a penalty. But now, with that being said, it has to be where you challenge a penalty that's thrown. In the CFL, they got it where you can challenge a penalty that hasn't had a flag thrown or one that has had it. But they're saying now in certain rules in the NFL, or I don't know if the NCAA has it, but they got to start reviewing these penalties. If they can review caught passes, fumbles, was he inbounds, what he out of bounds, then they can review penalties.
Yeah, the argument that you always hear is you want to make sure they get it right on the field. They want to make sure it gets right. That it seems like that the penalties, the officiating is the biggest concern in football right now.
Well, it's not just college. It's it's worse in high school. College, you got replays. NFL stuff, you got replays, and that's the problem you're having right now. What do you do? How do you implement it? How are you going? And it's nip and tuck. Why don't you just say, okay, each coach has 2 per half? That's not going to hold up the game. I mean, if they're going straight to the booth without even the officials getting together nowadays, that's fantastic. I'm glad they started to do that, because the officials in the booth are the ones who are correcting it, incorrecting it, holding it up, or whatever. It ain't the officials on the field. They just go there, look in a box, and they let the guys upstairs tell them that this is what it should be, this is what it shouldn't be. I saw a bad call in the NFL playoff game where the guy was a yard short. Two officials on the field had him a yard short. The guy in the box says, oh, no, that's a first down. I don't know what he was looking at. So that's why you got to have this. Let the college coaches each get a chance, twice a half to challenge a penalty. It's not going to hold up the game. It's going to, like you say, let's get it right. If you're going to get it right on a fumble, you're going to get it right. Was his feet down? Was he going to get it right? Did he cross over the goal line? Let's get it right if it's a penalty. I mean, let's be honest. And we have got to start, and I'm not just saying about Ole Miss, we got to start doing this, Steven. The ball is not in fair territory, then it's not a catchable ball. Don't give me that, oh, it's a pass interference, the ball's 5 yards out of bounds, 10 yards over his head. They got to stop all that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about the news of the day that Trinidad Chambliss is likely about to file his lawsuit for eligibility. We'll have a conversation about that with the legend, John Fourcade, right after this. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel has given all customers even more ways to get on the action every single game day of the playoffs, because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets that you feel the best about. Ride the favorite when you think the team controls the matchup. Take a shot on the underdog when you feel an upset coming. Or build a parlay around the players and moments that you think will decide the game. Then when you apply the profit boost and go after an even bigger winning, and when you win, FanDuel pays out even instantly. So, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com today to get your college football playoff profit boost every single game day. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to and get a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it keeps all of this free. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in America. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Ole Miss with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and even more, all for just $5 per month or $50 per year. Go to lockedonolemist.supercast.com or check the link down in the show notes to learn more. All right, John, one thing that's interesting right now, they're getting ready to file a lawsuit in the state of Mississippi. I think it was Tom Mars and another lawyer are going to file on Trinidad Chambliss' behalf. After the NCAA denied his waiver for a 6-year, they're going to press it at that. The rumor is it's about $6 million worth of an Ole Miss contract on the table. And if you put that in perspective, I know the NFL is kind of your wheelhouse. That is more annually by about a factor or two than Tyler Shuck gets for the New Orleans Saints annually. So there are some damages. Now, granted, it's not all guaranteed depending on where you get picked in the NFL. And I don't think that Trinidad Chambliss has a first or second round grade, which makes it not guaranteed, because it's first or second down, he would be playing in the NFL and you wouldn't even consider it. But the way it sits right now, 3rd round, 4th round, non-guaranteed contract, or $5 million at Ole Miss, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah, you want to go back to Ole Miss if they're going to give you $5 million. But first and foremost, I think it's ridiculous Ole Miss giving this young man $5 million if that's what, the rumors are. Is he worth $5 million? No, I'll tell you flat out to your face. No, he's not. Any quarterback in college football worth $5 million? No, not even a Heisman Trophy guy in Indiana. They should make it $2 million. That's the tops you should get. But who am I and say, that's throwing money out the door for somebody of a college atmosphere. It gets hurt, whatever it may be. But all that's fine and dandy for him. Now you talk about the NFL. Yeah, he's not a first, second round draft pick. He's, anywhere 3rd, 4th, or 5th. He's not going to get the money. So I don't blame the kid. Do whatever it takes possibly to go back to college, pick you up some money. And there's no guarantee that he's even going to play on the NFL level. And if he does, is he a starter? No, he's nowhere near that right now. But money's money. And if you go back to college, enjoy you another year of college, life, football, and pull you in $3 or $4, $5 million, go for it.
Yeah, and if he gets that waiver, this is what it means. Ole Miss is a favorite for the national title next year if he comes back. Ole Miss, he is a favorite for the Heisman Trophy next year. It's kind of a big court case for Ole Miss because they're making all these waves in the transfer portal. They are one of like 4 teams with more than 10 commits that have a certain level of their talent that they're bringing. They're doing a really good job. All you need is a quarterback, and you would like the 5-star quarterback coming in, Deuce Knight, to have Trinidad to look up to for a year before he gets the keys.
Well, there's no guarantee that Deuce Knight is going to be the future quarterback if they've already promised the kid, when Chambliss leaves you the quarterback. I think that's unjust because what has he done so far? I'm only going by what I've read and what I heard and what I've seen. He wasn't good enough to start at Auburn, and, maybe he will be, at Ole Miss. And I'm kind of glad that they're having this waiver go to court because we need to have Chambliss back because now the Deuce kid can learn, like you just said. Sit behind him for a year, learn. He'll have 3 years left after the next season if he is the backup, which is the best way to do it. But if Chambliss is not there, I'm not sold on this kid being my starter just yet. A year experience under his belt, getting some game reps, or when they're playing next season, if that is Chambliss's desire that he is back, then if it all works out, you got 2 good quarterbacks. Supposedly, we know what Chambliss brings to the table. With Knight being his backup, all he can do is learn and get better and get taught a little bit whoever's calling the plays for him next year. So there's a lot up in the air right now, and if it's going to be a judge in the state of Mississippi. Obviously, he must be a Rebel fan because then maybe he can help out and secure the fact that they'll let Chambliss come back.
Yeah, and he possibly a state judge. He probably went to Ole Miss law to start with, so it might actually be an Ole Miss grad on the bench. So it's going to be interesting. Ole Miss got a couple commitments from LSU players. You being in New Orleans, I'm just going to put you on the spot right here. What do you know about JT Lindsey?
Not a thing.
Okay.
I mean, you know, the name's familiar. We all know about the name, but hasn't done anything here in New Orleans. Press hasn't talked about him. He hasn't, you know, really done anything for as, you know, being, you know, a Lacey or a Chambliss or just a big name guy that's going to step. Now, could he be down the road? I mean, they say he's got potential to do that, so we'll see what happens. But you know, it's all a crapshoot. You know as well as I do. How many guys, Steven, go in the transfer portal from all these other teams and don't produce or don't even, you know, you got 6,000 kids that's going into the transfer portal. 6,000. There's only going to be 2,000 maybe get positions to play big time football. Some of these cats who probably won't play much are going to have to go down to the FCS to be able to play.
Yeah, the funny thing is, people don't realize, and they're talking about transfer portal rankings or something like that. It's like, folks, there's 6,000 people, and there's 2 people maybe at an industry that is responsible for evaluating these players. They're just putting up stars, and they're hoping that you don't say anything about it. They don't know any more than anybody else. And the reason I know that is because I used to be at rivals.com before the transfer portal, and anytime you didn't have a profile, it was a 3-star if they were a Power 5, and it was a 2-star if they were a G5. That's what it was. That was the standard thing, and everybody did it. And then all these people talking about rankings and ratings and stuff like that as far as the transfer portal, it's almost better to go back to the high school rankings because they spent more time on it at that point.
Well, I think right now with all this transfer portal, what it has done, it has really destroyed college kids, and high school kids who go off to go to their first year in college. You know, they might have their heart and soul. You know, I want to go play here. This is who I want to sign with. And then all of a sudden they stop talking to you because, we got a transfer portal kid coming in here and he could be a bust and then he's done. Whereas you bring a young freshman in who might be there a couple of years, but then again, he could leave you after a couple of years saying this ain't working out. But let's look at that transfer portal, like you said. Look at the top quarterbacks that got the kid from Cincinnati who ended up going to Texas Tech. He went solely for the money. Texas Tech will never be as good as SEC power teams or even the Big Ten. But the kid left to go somewhere because they offered him $4 or $5 million. All right, now you look at Sam Levitt. He's going to LSU. LSU bumped that offer up because he was getting interviewed by Miami and Tennessee. So I'm sure he's making good money. And then they
completely screwed up the visit. So there was probably a $2 million penalty on top of everything.
I don't doubt that. And then you got the kid from Nebraska. You got a kid from Nebraska who's average at best. He's going to Oregon, and Oregon don't know yet what the Moore kid's going to do. If the Moore kid comes back, the kid from Nebraska, you know, we call him Pat Mahomes Jr. because he wants to be looking like Pat Mahomes. He's over there going to Oregon. And there's no guarantee that Moore's jumping to the NFL. And if, say, Moore did go to the NFL, this kid goes to Nike, money. Let's be honest. A lot of these guys that people go after – just because they came out of school with big names in high schools and they didn't make it to college, what makes you so sure they're going to go to your school and all of a sudden be the greatest things in sliced bread? I saw the Coleman kid from Auburn. He's going to Texas. You're going to be Arch Manning's #1 targeted wide receiver. Well, that's great. That's all, you know, before the season begins. What happens to the guy then, you know, he fades out and things don't go well, or Arch doesn't play as good as Arch did the last few games of the season. So transfer portal, you got to hit it. And there's no such thing as hit and miss. You better hit it. Because if you miss it, you done wasted a high school kid's chance to be on your team, or go after somebody else. So I'm fed up with the transfer portal. It's good for a while, but, you know, 6,000 kids this year in the last 2 weeks. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. And Texas, by the way, is in full-fledged buy a championship mode. I mean,
well, that's what A&M. Hey, Steve, A&M tried it. They spent 20 back at the time when Jimbo was there, 25, 26 million. LSU's almost hitting $30 million. All these schools, they're all up there in the $30 million, $25 to $30 million range. trying to buy them a national championship. What happens if you don't get it or you don't even make the playoff? You're out $30-something million and you're like the 14th team in the country. You're not playing for a playoff. Wow.
Well, LSU this year spent like $20 million in the transfer portal on a defense and lost the Texas Bowl.
More than that. More than that. Well, let me just say, bowl games, that's done. That's history. When the season's over with, and they want to sit there and go, oh, well, look, the SEC only won 2 bowl games. Who cares? SEC don't give a rat about playing in bowl games unless it's a Sugar Bowl, a big bowl where that something might matter. I mean, if I'm going to the Mayo Bowl and the Texas Bowl, who cares? All your team leaves, guys get ready for the draft. So the bowl games are not like the old days. Everybody season's over with. Oh, yeah, we get to play one more game in a bowl game. But that delay, too, that month delay from the season ends to the bowl game season starts, it's really killing these players. They don't want to do it no more. And so what are you going to do? They gotta end the season and then start the playoff games and then to play all the four major playoff games and around December 31st, January 1st, and then the week after you play your championship game.
Yeah,
football starts in August now and ends in February.
Yeah. Right now, we will talk to John when we come back about the playoff and the news that came out today about the number of teams potentially. All of that's coming up next. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. The new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. Whether you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks, right? That is why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding to mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading that work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and budget. Listen, I picked up a few new accents for around the house, whether it's a new kitchen rug or a couple of bookcases that we're going to put out in the living room and maybe a couple of accent features. There's a wooden pelican and this weird little Beetlejuice crab thing that my wife seemed to really like. It's all unbelievably easy, and it shows up exactly like they said it would. Shopping is easy, delivery is smooth, and everything arrives at your house as expected. Right now, it honestly made getting back into the routine of the new year feel a lot more manageable, get organized, refresh, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, John, one thing that's interesting today, I think it was Heather Dinich came out and said that the Big Ten has a proposal to the SEC. Both of those conferences are fighting over the playoff for the future and all of that. But they extended the deadline to about the 23rd, so we're about 10 days out. The Big Ten wants to go to 24 teams. That's what the FCS does, whatever. But they said they will go to 16 teams if the SEC agrees to make that jump in 3 or 4 years. The SEC and the Big Ten also said that they would be fine keeping it at 12. What do you think about all this?
I don't think you need to go up to 20-something teams. I mean, that's the big difference in style of play and the competition and the money stuff. You want to bump it to 16, I have no problems with it. But, like, my problem is season ends. The heck with the doggone conference championship game. Eliminate that. Who cares about it? It's all a money deal. Well, you got to promise them some money if they're going to get rid of those games. And now you start play your playoff games a week after the season ends. You want to have 16 play whoever, whatever it might be. You can't keep going, 24s. The NCAA Big Boys FCS has X amount of teams. The FBS has the big boys. The FBS can't be playing those 5 or 6, games. That's a lot of games to be playing style. But, Steven, the best thing to do is pick you a number and stay with it. You can't go from 4 to 8 to 12, 16, 24. And all of a sudden they're going to say, season's over, everybody's in the tournament. Pick you a number, stay with it. But you can't have the Big Ten and the SEC be the only ones to dictate it. If that's the situation, then you got to go to Power 4 championships. in the Group of Five championship.
You know, one thing that's interesting to me, and this is my opinion on this. If you're going to end up getting to 24, just get it over with and just get to 24 and try and make that the best that it can be, instead of it going to 16 and then 2 years saying, oh, we need to go to 18, and then 2 more years we need to go to 20. If you're eventually going to get to that point, just go ahead and get it over with and try and improve it the best you can, right?
Oh, I totally agree. If you're gonna don't tell me 2 years from now we're gonna think, why push it down the road? If you're gonna think about it and do it now. Don't wait down the road to do it. If you feel like, oh, we'll eventually get to, well, if you're going to eventually get there, why don't you get there now? Like you're just saying. It's a money grabbing thing. You know, obviously, you know, the conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC, that's it. ACC is below that, and big, you know, the Big 10 or Big 12, whatever you want to call them, they're below that as well. But, you know, my take is when you start opening it up to 16 teams, you know what's going to happen. They're going to complain in bits about, oh, wait a minute, you put in a bunch, 4 more Group of 5 schools over maybe 2, you know, the big boy schools, the Power Fours. You know, they get left out, and you got 2 other teams that are in. Say I guarantee if they go to a 24, whatever, they're going to say, okay, we're going to put in 4 teams from the Group of 5s. And then somebody gets left out from the Power 4, they're going to say, wait a second. You put in a group of, you know, 5 guys in there, they go play a team and they get beat 44-0. It's going back to that same story. Why don't you just go ahead and say, here's what we're going to do. 12, 14 teams. You got the BCS, the FBS, and then the FCS. You got your 24 squad. Go knock yourself out. Now the Group of 5s will give you 12-team college playoff. If I'm a Tulane, James Madison, don't you think I'd be celebrating if I knew I was playing against guys of my caliber? You know, once every 10 games, they might upset somebody. But guess what? It's 9-1 versus 1-9. I take that 9-1 if I'm the big boys playing against the little guys. And it's sorry to say this, what's it going to hurt? NCAA championship, FCS. What Group of 5? They get their big trophy. You think they're going to care about if they didn't win a national? It is a national championship. It's just on a different level.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, John, thank you so much for this season. I look forward to talking to you next season whenever we get ready to do all this again. What are your plans for the offseason, bud?
Not much. I got surgery on February 2nd on my neck. It'll be my 36th operation to get that started and over with. They give me 2 months that I should be back to being able to play some golf, doing some things like that. I'm just going to relax this whole summer, not much. Got my big golf outing, which is the big one I do every year in June. So it's a big event out in Phoenix. I've been doing it 17 years. That's what I'm going to do, get ready to roll. Now, listen, I want to let you people know, that T behind me is not Texas, and it's not Tennessee. It's my nephew, Taylor, my little handicapped nephew. So his big T's on the wall.
All right. Take care, John, and we will talk to you next football season, buddy.
Thank you, Steven. Take care of yourself. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All right. Thanks again for tuning into the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We will continue to talk about this game with former players and reacting to it as well as talking about the transfer portal and stuff like that when we can. We're on all the social channels, so check that out as well. And did Locked On Ole Miss make your Spotify Wrap? Proven on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tune in and tag our national Locked On Network account on any social media platform, and they will drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get one of the favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we're going to send you on over to the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On College Football. Hotty toddy, everybody. And we get ready for an offseason and a transfer portal and basketball, and all of that is going to be a good time. We'll keep you informed. Hotty toddy.